Hi guys, my name is Tiffany and welcome back to another video. So in this one I want to answer a pretty controversial question for those out there who are wondering whether grades are the key to success and whether that's going to affect you becoming a registered nurse.
'Cause anywhere with you feels right. Anywhere with you feels like Paris in the rain. Paris in the rain. When I'm with you, when I'm with you, Paris in the rain. Paris in the rain.
So I want to put a disclaimer first that yes, grades are important, but it is not going to define who you are as a nurse. So I was one of those people that struggled a lot with school growing up. I was never one of those people that did super well in all my classes and getting straight A's and things like that. And I also struggled with school a lot, and I was not one of those people that actually liked school. Once I was done and I graduated school, I was so glad to finally be finished and not having to deal with that anymore. School was just not one of my favorite things growing up, and I just didn't really do well. And one of the things that I struggled a lot with was studying, and I was one of those people that needed an extensive period of time to study. For some people, they would study in like the day before or the night before or like a few days. But for me, it took like at least a minimum of 2 weeks to study for an exam. And so I would give myself a routine schedule and start prepping way in advance, just because it took me a very long time for me to reabsorb information and reiterate information to myself. So I always had tutors for a lot of my classes, especially while I was in nursing school. I always tried to make the most out of the resources that I had. So I got a tutor for all the courses that I had difficulty with, whether I needed it or not, just because it was very nice to have someone to really talk things out with. Reinforces a lot of your learning. And whether or not you are a self-studier like I am, there are just times where it's nice to have other people to really talk things out with, whether it's with your classmates and you can have a group study session to really just discuss information that you need to be having reinforced to yourself. But yeah, I just had a lot of difficulty during school, and it was not one of my favorite things. And I also struggled with a lot. I didn't get straight A's. I didn't pass a lot of my exams. And that's not really going to define who you are as a nurse, because what's really going to be important is showing your employers how you are as a person. They're going to want to see how well you're able to communicate and interact with other people, your ability to give back to others, your extracurriculars, volunteer service, working, and all those things. That is what they're going to want to see. They're not going to ask you in your interviews what grades you had in certain classes, whether or not you passed certain subjects or things like that. That's not what's going to be important. What's going to be important is your critical thinking skills that you're going to be gaining through your experiences. Now, you can be a book study smart person and get super straight A's and all these things. But if you're not able to critically think in real life and help advocate for your patient during critical situations, all those things that you study in school is not going to be relevant. You're going to need to have to be able to think on your feet in a lot of times during nursing. There are going to be times where you're going to have to really think on your feet during critical situations, and sometimes there's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step of ways to do things that you can learn in a textbook. There's just some times where you think this is going to happen and something else happens, and you're going to have to think outside of your feet and be very flexible. And so there's really no specific way to do things. And yeah, there may be algorithms and policies and things like that your hospital has in order for you to do certain steps during a situation. But really, a lot of times as a nurse, you're going to be thinking on your feet and thinking for your patients on things you may not even think about. There's just some times where we don't have the answers to everything, and a textbook is not going to show you those things. So just remember that yes, school is important and things like that, but it's more important for you to go out there, network with other people, give back to your community by doing volunteer service, and even doing extracurriculars like joining clubs at your school, doing work study, things like that. That's what's going to show your employers how you are as a person and that you are passionate about nursing, because that's what they're going to be looking for. They're not going to be asking you about your grades and things like that. And there may be some programs like new grad programs that'll ask about your transcripts and things like that. And I don't think that's going to affect how they choose their candidates, and that's not going to affect who you are as a nurse, because there's just some people out there that don't do well in school like me and need a lot of resources and help. But it doesn't make me less of a nurse than other people. So it's really going to be more on who you are as a person, how you are able to contribute and give back to other people. So that's really what they're going to be looking for when you're doing your job interviews and things like that, not about your grades. So please, for those out there who are struggling and stressing out and ripping their hairs out for not getting straight A's and not passing their exams and things like that, please don't beat yourself up for it. And if you do need help and resources, go out there and get it. And just remember that you are not alone. And there are people out there that struggle in school. And I'm one of those people. I was not a super smart student. And here I am 5 years later working as a NICU nurse and loving my job and showing my unit that I'm passionate and contributing on my unit and being involved in other ways by joining committees and things like that, because no one at my job asks me about my grades and no one at my job defines who I am as a nurse because of my grades, because what they see is how I am able to present myself to other people, how I think on my feet, how I critically think and advocate for my patients, because that is what's going to be important when you're working as a nurse, not your grades. So hopefully that helps answer your question and helps ease some of those out there who are stressing out and worrying about those things while they're in school. Just remember that nursing school is just a small portion of your life that you're going to be dealing with. And once you start working, it's going to be a different type of challenge that you're going to be dealing with, but it's going to be super rewarding in the end. So just remember that this is just a small time period you have to push through. You can do this, and please go out there and do a lot of research and get the resources that you need help. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Let me know down in the comments below any questions you have, and I will hopefully try to answer them. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.
'Cause